Hey guys, thanks for going on this nerd journey with me. If you want your episodes ad-free, go to makemeanerd.com/join and hit that button.
Hooked on you, baby, you're golden. Time moves, I never noticed, just can't get enough. Got me wonderstruck.
Welcome everybody to Make Me a Nerd. I'm Mandy Kaplan, a mainstream mom whose mission it is to explore the world of nerd culture that I've been missing out on and slightly afraid of my whole life. I have every right to be afraid of Xanadu, but we'll get there. Right now, I want to bring my extraordinary guest on, who wrote his own bio. Let's see what that's all about. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, my guest today is an award-winning brand and advertising strategist. He's going to let us know what that means. Who has worked at some of the world's most famous advertising agencies in places like San Francisco, London, and Amsterdam. He's worked on campaigns for big global brands like HP, Dr. Martens, Doc Martens, Adoy Mandy, Adidas, PlayStation, and his favorite of the bunch, Kettle One Vodka. He won the Euro FE Grand Prize, an award for effectiveness in advertising, for the European launch of PS4, as well as various other awards that, quote, only advertising people care about. Nerds. But Jonas is not just a dear friend. He's also my writing partner. He approached me at the very beginning of COVID after we hadn't seen or talked to each other in perhaps decades, because, side note, we really didn't know each other. We were connected through guest on the show, Matt Bourne. He approached me with a TV series idea that I beyond loved, and he asked me to write it with him. Now we're coming up on 6 years of writing together. We have 5 feature film scripts and 3 TV series pilots, all of which are available and out in the market. Jonas now lives in Berlin with his South African husband, JD, and he's going to talk to me about a movie that is near and dear to his heart, because potentially he has no taste. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonas Vail.
Hi, Mandy. Yeah, I did write my own bio because you told me to.
Yes.
And also, according to that script, you look really pretty.
Oh, thank you, Jonas. Thank you, someone who knows me very well.
Did I say that right?
You got it right. So when I initially launched this podcast, I said, and you're coming on, and you were hesitant because
I was.
A, you were a little nervous. There's a chance you're a couple sheets to the wind. I don't know, because it's late where you are. And B, you didn't feel like you were truly a nerd. But I know you to nerd out about stuff. So tell me what kind of a nerd you are.
Well, it's interesting. I was listening to you talking with Abdi yesterday on his nerdiness about Truth or Dare. And I liked what he said, which was, I don't consider myself a nerd in the classical sense, but I do get obsessed with certain things. Those things, despite what anybody else thinks about them, I love them, and I'm always going to love them, and you can't tell me that I'm wrong. And Xanadu is one of those things. As you know, Golden Girls is another one of those things.
Well, can we stop for one moment?
Sure.
Can we tell everybody how we actually met? Matt Bourne's birthday party, Los Angeles.
Yes.
I don't remember the year.
We were, yes. Well, I see, you say birthday party. I think it was a Halloween party.
See,
But
that's why I think
way,
it's
Matt
funnier
Bourne was
that I
having a
don't think it
party.
was. But go ahead. His birthday's in
Either way,
March.
Matt Bourne was having a party.
Yeah.
Correct. That's no, but wasn't that when I was dressed up as Sophia? Anyway, no, I mean Dorothy. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
No.
But Matt Bourne was hosting a party, let's say, and we were both in attendance. I was living in San Francisco at the time, but I was in LA, and Matt said, "Go talk to my friend Mandy. She might be a bigger Golden Girls fan than you are." And I punched him in the face and said, "There's no fucking way." And I ran over to you and I said, "I hear you're almost as big a Golden Girls fan as I am. Let's go." And we just started rattling off quotes to each other.
Friendship
and remember that episode
born.
when?
Yeah.
And we were like, we didn't leave each other's side that night.
But here's my memory, is that I said, oh, I'm a bigger fan. And you said, I have a Dorothy's Bornak costume in my trunk. And you showed it to me. And then I said, you win. Good sir. And I tipped my hat.
I definitely had a Dorothy Spornak costume because I had gone as
Right.
Dorothy Spornak for
Halloween,
Halloween with
right.
my friend Dessa, who dressed up as Sophia. And there's a photo of that. But I don't know why, because I don't know why that would have been in my trunk in March if it was his birthday.
Well,
But
maybe it wasn't his birthday, but it was not Halloween, which is why it was crazy that you had Dorothy Zbornak in your trunk. I win, you lose. Yeah. Moving on.
Either way, yes. But do you have a letter from B. Arthur signed and framed on your wall? Because I do, and
no,
I can.
But I have the bobbleheads.
I can pull it down and show it to you.
We've danced this dance many times,
yes,
Jonas.
We have.
We are equal.
Stalemate.
Equal lovers of all things Golden Girls, which is why we couldn't talk about that, because you wouldn't be making me nerdy about it.
Exactly.
But tell me, do you have a memory of the first time you saw Xanadu?
Well, not the first time per se, but because the story is that when I was in kindergarten and in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I grew up until I was 12, my kindergarten got out at 11:30, and on Tuesdays at a movie theater and a mile down the street, they played a $1 noon matinee of of Xanadu. They played a $1 noon matinee of Xanadu, and my mother would pick me up from kindergarten at 11:30, and we would get in the car and we would drive over to this movie theater, and we watched the noon dollar matinee of Xanadu, and we did that 11 weeks in a row. I
would have demanded my money back, even if it was just $1. Go ahead.
But yeah, and I mean, I recently found, because my mother kept scrapbooks for me, and I had them all in storage until 2 years ago. And I recently found the page that has like a Xanadu cut out from the newspaper of the movie listing and like a ticket stub, and it says we saw it eight weeks in a row. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it was 11. I think you made this when we still had 3 weeks to go, but because I definitely remember it was that. But so that's really kind of how it started, and I was 5. I was 5 years old, and for 45 years now, I've been a fan of this movie because of that.
Do you think it's a good movie?
Well, I no. Okay, so here's the thing. I obviously rewatched it today, and I really tried, because I knew I was coming onto this podcast. I really tried to watch it with a critical eye, and I did a bunch of research into why people really don't like this movie. And I get it.
Well, because they have eyes and ears and brains.
Right. Well, no, eyes and ears. Ears. Now, I'm really going to argue with you.
No, the music is good. The music is great.
The soundtrack is phenomenal, and it spawned 5 top 40 hits.
Yeah.
Magic was number 1 for 4 weeks. Xanadu was number 1 outside of the U.S. for 7 weeks or something. But it went multi-platinum. The soundtrack is amazing, and I think you're a fan of the Broadway musical, right?
Big fan.
But they essentially use all the songs.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, I think they so that's again a testament to the music was great, and you can't really fault Olivia Newton-John's voice, right? So it's
perfection.
She's great. Yeah, she's great, and visually, again. Okay, so let me back up. I was in my research. I was trying to figure out kind of what people hated about it, and I listened to this episode of that podcast I sent you yesterday. How did this get made?
Mm-hmm.
With June, Diane Raphael and her husband,
mm-hmm.
And they really pick it apart, and I get it, and all the things that they say for the most part ring true. There is essentially no script, and it is is Sonny Malone an aspiring visual artist? Is he an aspiring club owner? Is he an aspiring what is he a failed artist at that his dream is coming true? And anyway, they have a segment on that podcast that is where they read 5-star reviews on Amazon to kind of give the other side
mm-hmm.
of the coin of what makes them. So basically, the people like me,
mm-hmm.
what they would have written in. And one of the reviews said, "No one over the age of 9 should see this movie," and it really made me think that why this movie was so magical for me probably was because I was 5.
Yes.
So if you look at it from a 5-year-old's perspective, and it was bright colors, it was singing, it was roller skating, which was really becoming a thing then. And if I didn't have a pair of roller skates, I had one very soon afterwards.
Yes.
And it was bright. It was cartoony. There's a cartoon sequence.
Oh, yes, there
and like,
is.
and to a 5-year-old, the special effects of them, like, getting light, being surrounded by light and like turning into light and flying away in light was like, it was great for me to watch. I loved that. And it was, it was exciting to me to watch. Though I will have to say, the scene when Gene Kelly and Sonny Malone go to the club for the first time, and they're kind of looking around, and he's like, can you picture it of over there, a 40s big band, over there, no, it's the 80s, it's a big rock band. As a 5-year-old, I fucking hated that scene, and I would have my mother take me out into the lobby to like have my own intermission, so I wouldn't have to sit through that, which I clocked 7.5-minute scene.
Wow.
Now that I'm an adult and I can appreciate music more, I actually understand that it's a pretty brilliant musical act, because it's two separate songs that then merge into one song.
That's the dancing song? Is that?
Yeah, exactly. And so like now I like that scene and that song because of the sort of intricate of weaving together. But is it a good movie? No. But here's the other theory I came up with, and shut me up if I'm talking too much, but the other theory I came up with is that I think everybody overthinks it.
Sure.
And maybe that's, again, coming from my 5-year-old mind of falling in love with it in the first place. But, and yes, I know a $20 million movie is supposed to have more of a cohesive plot and script and everything. But like, I think everyone's taking it too seriously, and I think even the filmmakers were taking it too seriously. I feel like Olivia Newton-John was the only one who's actually, and Gene Kelly, the only ones that really kind of just having fun with it.
Well, it's donuts for dinner, and it's
totally.
It's what if you're expecting a steak dinner with protein and vegetables and delicious glass of wine and all of that, you're not getting that. That's not what this is. No. It's not what it promises, but I would argue that what it promises, this nonsense, fun, colorful, musical entertainment, that on some levels of that, it even fails for me. And that's disappointing, because Olivia Newton-John was my hero growing up. Mm-hmm. I had the double album, The Greatest Hits, that on the front, her eyes were open, and then you opened it and her eyes were closed, and I would make her blink for hours. I would just make her blink. I loved Olivia Newton-John, and this feels uncomfortable at times, because she might be having fun and impressed. I watched some interviews, and she was like, it was just a blast, and Gene Kelly was a gentleman and my hero, and it was great. But she seems uncomfortable in the film.
Yes, and I get that, and I kind of understand from doing some research recently about why that is, and a lot of the script was sort of written as they were going, and there was apparently the original script was 45 pages long, and they had a lot of had a lot of they had a lot of time to fill, and apparently that whole Don Bluth animation scene is because they had the sort of, well, two things. They had the finished film and it wasn't long enough, and so it was cheaper to put in an animation scene, but also they had that song and Walk Away from ELO that they hadn't figured out a place for it to put in, that they need, that like contractually they need to put in, so they created that sequence to make it longer and to include that song. But
I wrote she looks like a confused hostage all the time, and her performance is terrible, and I don't think she's not talented. She was my idol. But a confused hostage. She often just looks like, what am I doing here? Why?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on that, because I having just watched it, I mean, I think maybe she's just not a particularly good actress. I mean, I loved her too, and I'd loved her from Grease. My parents had the Grease, LP where there's a pencil on it, and I remember like being really confused that I couldn't pick up the pencil because I was that young, and so I had already gone into it really liking her, and she was. My parents took me to her physical tour, and 2 years after Xanadu in 1982, so I was like 7. She was my first concert, so I loved her too, probably not as much as you, but
young listeners are like, what is an LP? What is an album? What are they talking about?
Oh, come
Sorry,
on. There are no
kids.
young listeners. But maybe she just wasn't a particularly great actress. People credit this movie with sort of the death of her film career, and then it was like the beginning of the end, and then she did that other John Travolta movie.
It's gonna be a strange twist of fate.
Which I love that movie because it's also terrible.
Oh, we try to rewatch that, you will fail. That does not hold up. Jared and I tried maybe 15 years ago.
But that's a great song. A great song.
Love the song, but that's a painful movie. Well, Olivia, my idol, absolutely too beautiful to look at. Her voice is from heaven. Maybe not a great actress, but I love that in the opening sequence when they all come out of the mural, all the sisters do this elaborate, very challenging lyrical choreography. Some of it quite lazy. And then they come out of the mural, but all Olivia Newton-John does is play slow peekaboo.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking about that too. Like, was she a good dancer? And did she do a lot of dancing other than in this movie? And it's quite ballsy of her to go up like one-on-one with Gene Kelly in that ballroom.
It sure was
scene. And if you're looking at it side by side, like he's phenomenal, and she looks like the scared captive who's like, I'm never going to keep up in this scene. And then I was just watching it again, but the finale, which I also just love because it's so camp and over the top and just crazy. She is dancing around to Xanadu, singing Xanadu, and her dance moves are awful.
Yeah.
And her, like, what she's
let's
doing
put the word dancing in quotes.
So.
But but in this opening sequence, Jonas, she's the only one in flats. The rest of these professional dancers are wearing high heels and really doing very,
great.
Lyrical dance. And then she's in flats.
It's the time when the two sisters kind of do this shouldery thing that's lazy for you.
Very lazy. Yeah. But, it is what it is. It's colorful, it's bright, and I understand why somebody would say, wow. And they have the outer space element. Those opening credits, by the way, they take their time and they really went all out with a little toy spaceship going UFO, around on Earth. Yeah. Oh.
Which actually doesn't pay off at all in any kind of way because it's not a movie about space at all. I think it's about, I don't know. But that just kind of speaks to this theme of mixing time eras that they do in this, like the 40s and the 80s aspect of it, which I find cute and I find charming and I find,
well, Gene Kelly is
like, oh, poor Gene Kelly, but like,
he still comes across well somehow.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does.
And okay.
Yeah.
It's going to sound like a tangent, but it's relevant. So years and years ago, 20 years ago in Los Angeles, a very smart company, I don't know who, did Point Break live. And we saw it a couple of times because it was simply hilarious. And you would go to this, underground feeling theater and they did the movie Point Break, but on stage. And playing Keanu Reeves' part was an audience member with cue cards. Because Keanu Reeves is so bad in movies like that the audience member, somebody would go, flip your cards. And they were like, oh shit, we're in huge trouble. The cops are after, right? And they would just be wooden. And it was so hilarious. That is what Michael Beck feels like as Sonny Malone. Like, I'm aware that it was supposed to be Andy Gibb. His drug problems didn't allow him to follow through on this commitment, from what I read. And so they said, this guy off the street, I heard no audition, has similar hair to Andy Gibb, put him in.
Well, yes. And
so
also,
bad.
But also, like, in certain parts, so hot. Like when he's
I disagree. I knew you would think he's hot. I think he looks like an angry ape.
In particular, the scene where he's roller skating into the mural, like when he's like going up and down the Venice Beach boardwalk in those short shorts and like the kind of half open top, and like somebody's continuity job was not done very well, like because he's buttoned up in one shot and then he's like one button done in the other shot. But that one moment I thought he was particularly hot. I agree. good actor? No. But also, again, like I don't care. I don't. It's one of these things. Like I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
Because I'm in it for the music. I'm in it for the whimsy. I'm in it for the flashing lights. Again, because every time I watch it, I feel like I'm this 5-year-old who's wowed by the experience and wowed by if I think about it now, like probably my mother and I were the only people in that movie theater at 12
That's
o'clock
my
on
guess.
a Tuesday. And so, it felt like it was a movie for us.
Right.
And we had it, all to ourselves. And I, when I wanted her to take me out for the dancing scene, like it was, the whole thing was put on for me. That's kind of how I felt. So so I retain that sort of level of nostalgia for it. Matt, our friend who introduced us, brought us together. He talks about being clinically nostalgic, and I also am that way.
Yeah.
Like he and I were talking about this. Like sometimes I'm almost pre-nostalgic, like a nostalgic precog. Like I get nostalgic for things I haven't experienced yet. So like,
You're so special.
So I know. So like when I was 12, and another thing that I was absolutely madly obsessed with, St. Elmo's Fire.
Never seen it.
And I You've never seen it, Mandy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we can do if you ever invite me back to this podcast, we can talk about it. But my friends and I, who were 12 years old, thought we were those characters.
Of course.
And there's a scene where Demi Moore's character is like trying to freeze herself to death, and she's like,
right. I've seen that. She's in the window hugging her knees.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and Rob Lowe comes in and saves her, and he's like, this is all our, it's all our time on the edge. And she says, I just never thought I'd feel this old at 22. And I was sitting there as a 12-year-old being like, girl, I know exactly how you feel. And like, I was already at 12, like pre-nostalgic for feeling young at 22. Like, and it's such a weird thing that I do this sometimes. And like I was thinking about another. Okay, so here's another one that you and I can not do a podcast about because we're both on the same page about is Grease 2.
Best movie of all time.
Don't you love Grease 2?
Yeah, passionately. Yes.
Right. So like the other day I may have had a drink or two and was feeling a little like wispy, and I put on the like the end luau scene.
Yeah, we're going to luau.
They can finally like be together, and then it's like, but it's graduation, and it's like we'll be together.
Yeah,
like, and I was like getting sentimental thinking about that, and thinking, I think when I watched this when I was 11, I was sentimental about what it's going to feel like when I look back at my high school graduation.
I know you are.
It's like, how at 11 was I feeling that way? But anyway, so I think that Xanadu falls into that same realm of like, it's nostalgia. It's something that I had. It's something that was like very special to me at a point in my life.
Sure.
I lost my mother when I was 18. It also, like, on some level reminds me of her.
Right.
And it's all those kinds of things. And it's also, I think, the little gay boy in me.
Well, of course. Okay. Well, we'll get there.
Like, loved seeing all of the spectacle and all of the camp and all of the
for standards and practices, Jonas, just to keep it clean, you don't mean the little gay boy that you were, not the gay boy that's inside you now. I just want to clarify for everybody listening. But
yes, correct.
Back to the acting.
The little gay boy that I used to be.
But back to the acting.
Yes.
It is so bad that the Razzies were created to honor Xanadu and another movie called Can't Stop the Music. I had no idea, but this caused such a reaction in Hollywood that they created awards for bad movies because of it.
Well, I don't know who. I mean, like, I read this story too, and so the guy who started the Golden Razzies, I don't know what his job was before, and like how where he was in Hollywood echelon to be able to start these awards. If it was just, I think it was a grassroots thing, from what I understand.
Yeah, it was in a living room.
He managed to find a 99-cent showing. Yeah, he managed to find a 99-cent show, a double feature
Ooh.
of Xanadu and Can't Stop the Music. So like he got an even better deal than I did. But yeah, when he was refused his money, that's when he decided to start the Golden Razzies. And to be fair, Can't Stop the Music beat Xanadu on everything
in the
except
Razzies,
the worst
except
director.
director.
Yeah, except for
right.
worst director.
Well,
but you know that director's gone on to be like quite a good documentary director.
yes, I saw that,
apparently.
and Left Wing. So
Correct.
let's talk, while we're talking actors, Gene Kelly was one of my first crushes as a kid. And I always preferred him and defended him against Fred Astaire because everyone thought Fred Astaire was a better dancer. But Gene Kelly was more grounded, and he was thicker, and he had a gravitas to him that I preferred.
I also think he was more handsome.
Very much so. Very much so.
Dimples and smile, everything.
And so I think that I defend his performance, even though Olivia Newton-John was my idol and I'm trashing her. But it has that feeling of he can do no wrong. And
totally.
And he's 63 or something when he filmed on
68.
roller skates, 68, and still so handsome. And this was pre-plastic surgery, but he looks like he's had plastic surgery. He's so damn charming. And that comes across in this movie.
I could only hope to be as good looking and in shape and roller skating around as at 68 as he was.
Yep. And they all did their own skating, which I respect.
But
Sonny Malone even Back to the Future on the back of the van on his skates. Back to the Future stole that when Michael J. Fox hops on the skateboard.
Was that actually him?
Oh, I don't know about that exact moment. But they said
was that actually him doing that stuff?
I didn't read that, but they said they all did most of their own skating. But I just thought it was cool when I saw that. I was like, wait a minute.
Pretty much looked amateurish.
Right. Back to the Future stole that. So this movie inspired great films.
The greats always steal.
Right. But I wrote ONJ and Gene Kelly did their own skating. I did read that. And then I'm going to do a fun fact. Pete, fun fact. Okay. There was a skating coach for this film named Carrie Butler. A different Carrie Butler, a friend of mine from way, way, way back when, was the star of Xanadu on Broadway. Spelled the same, Carrie Butler. Different Carrie Butler was training on this film. Carrie Butler starred on Broadway. I just thought that was a fun fact.
That is a fun fact. I also have a weird fun fact. Oh, if you want.
Please. I love a fun fact. Pete, fun fact.
Xanadu is loosely inspired by a 1947 film with Rita Hayworth called Down to Earth, where Rita Hayworth plays Terpsichore, the god, muse of dance and song, who comes down
but not
to
Australian.
Earth because a guy... No, she's not Australian.
Kira.
And which again is like, is Olivia that good of an actress? Like, she plays Australian in every movie that she's in.
Right.
Like, God rest her soul. But, and I do love her, but like they couldn't get a dialect coach. Anyway, I digress. So Rita Hayworth's in this movie, and she comes down to Earth. She is the goddess of, the muse of song and dance. And she's annoyed because this Broadway producer, Danny, who's also named Danny, is doing a play about a musical about the muses. And he's casting them in a totally horrible light as like man-hungry nymphets who just like, are, like submitting to their most carnal desires. And Terpsichore is like the lead muse. And so Rita Hayworth, playing Terpsichore, comes down to try and get into the musical so she can make it better and more representative of, and more feminist, basically, but more representative of the way that the nine muses actually are. They end up falling in love. He changes the musical. They do in previews. The previews suck, so they have to go back to the original, which is also telling of the time. But anyway, so when she gets into the show, she basically goes onto the stage and upstages the actress who's playing that role, like dances in front of her, like full showgirl style. Like, I mean, it was one thing, like one moment away from throwing marbles under her. She then has to like invent this whole elaborate thing of who she is, and her name's Kitty Pendleton, and blah 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 blah. And so then they're showing these newspaper clippings of like Kitty Pendleton joins the cast, and it's like from Tulsa, Oklahoma. She's dripping in Oklahoma oil money, and it's like, now that's weird. That like the character that this is based on, like the fake character in the movie, is from Tulsa, and then that's where this whole thing started for me.
Right.
So I don't know, it's just a weird, very weird.
It's all about you, as it should
is all
be.
about me.
As it should be.
The universe is full of signs when you look for them.
Correct. Preach. The song where Gene Kelly and Olivia Newton-John tap dance, "Whenever You're Away From Me," is such a theme throughout the movie.
Whenever You're Away From Me.
Right. It plays in the opening credits. They use that theme because it's a different sounding song. It is 1940s and all of that. And it's very sweet, very innocent, lovely. And I did it in miscast this last show.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I didn't sing it, but I pitched it to one of my singers. So sidebar here. I said, you know that song from Xanadu, "Whenever You're Away From Me"? And she said, yeah. And I said, okay, what if you're a psycho stalker and you can't have the person be away from you, and I'm the object of your affection? So Casey filmed me grocery shopping and sleeping and all of these things as if it was this singer. And this video showed behind her as she was like gently singing this beautiful little song that she's been following me all over the place. And then she dragged me out tied to a chair and did a little dance number with me. And I was bound and gagged in her hostage. It was so funny. And I love that I did that to such an innocent, sweet song. Come see Miscast, January 25th.
That's amazing.
Thank you. But I wondered, this was the point.
Up on the first plane.
That was to the people. I wonder why they didn't make this a musical. Technically, it's not, because they only sing a couple of times. Well, they only open their mouths to sing a couple of times. They play songs while they're running around or animated or doing whatever. But, they don't go for it and have Sunny Malone and her sing suddenly. They just play it. And so the distinction becomes, musicals mean the character is so moved, they must burst into song because words can't express what they need to say. And this was more like musical montages or music in the background, even sung by, I know it's sung by Olivia Newton-John, but Magic, she doesn't sing. So I think the Broadway show worked so much better for me because they burst into song. And that is campy and funny and feels next level. Whereas this felt like, oops, they just couldn't make it happen, so they just played a song while they skated around in circles.
That's interesting, because I was going to ask you about that, because I know you're a really big musical fan, and there's so much sort of, or at the time was, but the vitriol about how loose the script is, and I was going to ask you, like, isn't that kind of what a musical is? Like, a bunch of loose story, sort of tied together by
jukebox musicals,
songs, and so it's fluff until you get to the next song.
No, jukebox musicals, which are the trend right now. Yes, I agree with you that Mamma Mia, they can be that way, where it's, they're like, it's so much work having a hotel. What are we going to do if we can't make money? It's like really lame. But a musical like Grease, think of those songs. They told you the inner thoughts of our characters, or they've moved the plot forward. They showed you, they taught us things, those songs in Grease, right? So that's missing from this. For her to sing Xanadu has nothing to do with the plot of this movie or with character. It is just a music video.
Right. So see, you're making me a nerd now. So I guess what you're saying is essentially like Suspended in Time is one of the few instances it's like where she's really singing what is
Yes.
going on in her head and why she's
Yes.
sad and what she wants to do and what her motivation is and all that stuff. And then I guess like I'm Alive, which is, them coming alive out of a mural is maybe one. But
Are they
and I
singing?
think that's
And I'm Alive? I didn't know
no,
this.
no,
Right.
no,
But it could be, and on stage it is. They all
right.
unfreeze and they're like, I'm alive. And it's like, oh, I get it. You're coming to life and you're telling us this.
But is that a movie musical versus a stage musical thing, or do you think that it's specifically in this instance that it's just a collection of songs? Because I think it probably is just a collection of songs
Correct.
that they put a film behind.
Correct.
And perhaps that's why people didn't like it, and perhaps that's why when I say like don't think about it too hard,
Right.
that and you're able to enjoy it if you're not thinking about it too hard and you're not just thinking of like, there's a point A and there's a point B and we're trying to get from there to the other, and we have this many songs, so we need to work into that process.
But that is precisely why.
But I do think.
But Jonas, that's why the musical works so well, because it
Mhm.
is clean. You get it. You get the concept. It's clean. You're not wondering, wait, why is there music playing and no one's opening their mouths? They are opening their mouths. They're singing. So I'm a big proponent of the musical. If you ever get the chance, I'll perform it for you next time you come to town.
Okay.
On skates.
Okay. And I do understand. Please. And I do understand that the Broadway musical is also sort of what do you call it?
It's a send up.
Self-satirical.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like, and she, the Clio character makes a point of saying, or she's still Kira, but she's not. Clio's the muse name, but she makes a point of saying like, oh yeah, and I'll put on an Australian accent. It's like
yes.
they're making fun of themselves, and I think that to me comes back to this whole point of like, I think everyone that made this movie was taking themselves too seriously.
Yes.
I read a quote from the guy who wrote the book for the musical, and he said something like, maybe I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, "This is what happens when you let straight men near the musical." And he's like, when you listen to Louis Armstrong, you can hear the heroin. In this case, you can like see the cocaine.
Yeah.
But, like everybody in this movie was like, must have been fucking high on cocaine the whole time. And it's like, I think somebody really liked ELO and somebody really liked roller skating and somebody really liked Olivia Newton-John, and it all just managed to all come together.
Yes.
I also read that this was supposed to be Brian Grazer, of all people, had an idea of like, oh, somebody should make a movie about roller skating in Venice Beach, and it was going to be a low budget, like, let's hop on the roller skating bandwagon.
Sure.
And then Olivia Newton-John signed on, and all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, okay, we gotta make this happen. And then it became a vehicle for Olivia Newton-John songs.
Correct.
And ELO songs.
Yeah.
And not the other way around, where those songs came out of a musical.
Well, okay. I have a big epiphany. Dun, dun, dun. But first, I'm going to do some of my business, and then we'll come back and I'll share this big epiphany. So
okay.
I need to let everybody know that Make Me a Nerd is a production of True Story FM, engineering by the peerless Pete Wright. And my theme song is Wonderstruck by Jane and the Boy. Please reach out on Apple Podcast, write a review, 5 stars. That helps more people find the podcast and gets more listeners. And I want to stay on this journey. I am having the time of my life. If you are enjoying listening to any of this, please go to makemeanerd.com/join. Hitting that button for $5 a month will get you your episodes ad-free and early, and ensure that we get to keep doing this, because we can't do it for free. So I really appreciate all of your support in all of those ways. Now, my epiphany. Because it's not a musical, and because they are often playing music over imagery, like the animated sequence, or the whole dancing thing is a separate thing. But I felt like this was the birth of MTV. This movie inspired music videos. And I know they had made music videos in the 60s and 70s, but I think they were more concert footage or, like a short film. But this, I would say, sparked Video Killed the Radio Star and everything that followed. What say you, Jonas Vail?
Well, I mean, again, bringing it back to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa, Oklahoma was one of the two first places to get MTV.
What?
Yes, because they did it as a test market in Tulsa and like Trenton, New Jersey, or Newark or something.
Okay.
So like even before Manhattan, in New York City had MTV. I had MTV in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Finger
and I
on the
remember
pulse.
that countdown.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Like again, so now I'm 6. So yes, I think you're right. I don't think that the creators of MTV looked at Xanadu and was like, oh, we need to make that into a channel. But I think that the two things coexist in the same universe and fed off of each other. Like that. I think that idea was probably bubbling up in culture, and this movie, probably not intentionally, but this movie ended up becoming a 93-minute music video
right.
for ELO and Olivia Newton-John.
Right.
That was cut from the same cloth as MTV, and so I think that's a really interesting epiphany, and I think that that's totally true. And as somebody who was with MTV from the beginning, probably it's another reason why I liked both things. You know what I mean? Because they felt like they were from the same universe. They were coming with the same intention. They were visually showing music, and it was up to the viewer to glean what they may in terms of a story.
Well, I love that you love it. I'm not trying to dissuade you from your love of this movie, because there is so much to love, and it's personal to you, and I can't and I shan't. But that's how I justified it's not a musical, and it's not a musical, it's a music video. Like we just said, 93 minutes of music video. But I did question during that dancing sequence, which I know you have seen less than the rest of the movie.
Right.
It is distinctly Olivia Newton-John singing in the Andrews Sisters 3-part harmonies, but she is not on screen.
No.
Why? That's a weird fucking choice. Why?
Well, I mean, again, I think it's that goes back to what you've just said about this is a music video. It's not a musical. So the characters of those Andrews sisters aren't the characters that need to be telling the story, but what you're seeing is a bringing to life of Sonny and Danny's discussion of what the club could be. So it doesn't have anything to do with Kira in that moment, other than there's, she brought them together and this is my place, and, et cetera. So I think continuing on your train of thought of this is a music video, that's why. And probably because they already had Olivia Newton-John in the studio to record some songs. So might as well just throw another one.
I know. Not that anything could have made this a good movie, but letting 3 other singers record that song would have made a lot more sense to me.
Well, but who knows if those were even singers? Maybe they were dancers. Maybe they were just there because
you hire 3 studio singers. You throw them in a studio. You say, record this song, so that it's not her voice, but she's not there.
But could those studio singers' voices match Olivia Newton-John's?
No, I'm saying I don't want Olivia Newton-John involved in the number, because it's weird that it's her voice, and you're like, I know this voice extremely well, but then she's nowhere to be found.
But then I guess from a Xanadu universe standpoint, she's sort of orchestrating this whole thing, of making. She says, "I was only sent here to make Xanadu happen." So to me, that's another. I guess if I think about it, that's another orchestration of hers to make Xanadu happen. Is that she is the voice behind these singers, and that's why she's doing it.
Point, again, Jonas Vail.
Again, it's like, yeah.
You did it. You gave me a reason, which is what I asked for. I appreciate that. I'll buy it. We know I'm a proud gay man, as are you.
Yes.
And I wrote, the Dark Night of the Soul is him angrily roller skating in Venice Beach in short shorts. This movie is too gay even for me.
Well, except it's not gay enough. like his shorts are short, but there's this movie is like devoid of sex. This is something I had, of course, again, because I've seen this movie so many times, and when I watch this movie, I become a 5-year-old, I guess. But like listening to it being dissected on the other podcast yesterday, that animation scene is the sex scene. It's the de facto sex scene because they're intimate, they're kissing. They kiss more, I think, in that animated sequence than they do in any of the live action scenes that they're in. And they go into this very vaginal looking rose that closes on them. And so it is the sex scene. So in that regard, it's like there's not very much sex in this movie. They never do it. We were talking about,
but the photographer,
the other day about,
when he grills the photographer, he can't afford buttons. His shirt is unbuttoned all the way down to his pants. It's hilarious.
Did you also see that the photographer is holding Sonny Malone's arm, like he's arm in arm with him? Yeah, but. And on that, because maybe they were going for a certain rating, but on that, there's one of the things that I saw that Olivia said in an interview about why she did this movie. She's like, because it's about dreams coming true and there's no violence.
Yeah, and she was a very wholesome person. She wouldn't have done something.
Yeah, and she said it's what the world needs right now, especially now.
Mm-hmm.
Is dreams coming true and no violence, and I guess no sex goes into that as well. So I think it's gay in its campiness and its flashiness and its over the topness, and obviously roller skating and skimpy shorts, and there's lots of like very sensual gyrating dancing happening, both men and women. I mean, did you see Matt Latanzi all over the final scene?
That was her husband.
Her husband.
I didn't see him.
Well, when you rewatch the final scene, you will see him. He is like very sensually dancing around, and looking very good doing it. And like, no wonder she was like, let's get married. But so I think it's actually surprisingly devoid of sex and sexuality.
Yeah, I agree.
Than the sort of surface level campiness. So that's why I think it could be gayer.
Well, sexier. I wanted it to be sexier.
I mean, but again, I don't see Olivia Newton-John as particularly sexy.
And yet you saw the physical tour. What does that say? No, she was squeaky clean.
Yeah, I mean, that was 7.
She was like country Christian.
I know, but
she's
still,
she's a squeaky clean person, and
yeah, I mean, there's if you again watch that final scene one more time, but this a friend of mine who I worked with at my first job, she was also a big fan of this movie, and she pointed out something to me back in like 95 or 96 when we watched it together, that the scene, like when Olivia's Kira is doing the cowboy segment of the music, which in her like Australian country accent, and the bartender slides the beer down, which by the way is like the only drink in the whole movie,
right?
And she takes a sip, and then makes this face like, and it's so hilarious. It's like this one sip touches her lips, and she's like grossed out, but it's actually kind of cute and it's fun. Like, I don't know, it's campy.
Can we talk? Okay, well, first of all, Abdi schooled me on his first episode with me about Mommy Dearest, about the definition of camp. And you and I have talked about this. Like, it can only be campy if you tried to make something good and it fails. You can't make camp intentionally. That's the philosophy he buys into by definition. So, but we keep saying campy, and I think that's the key. They were trying to make something fun and hip and cool and, colorful and artistic. And it ended up as campy schlock. That's why it's so campy.
I mean, I do think that camp can also be a more self-referential and can know that it's being camp. I mean, I think like a lot of drag is camp and it's intentional. But I agree. I think and perhaps it's more in the straight world that you can't be camp if you've tried to be, but in the gay world you can be camp if you've tried to be.
Right.
But yes, I think where and camp is a bit of a nebulous term in that regard. But I think in this instance, yes, what makes Xanadu so camp is that it is a bunch of straight people really trying to make something serious here.
Right.
And you know, seriously lighthearted to an
Mhm.
extent, but like they're taking it seriously. And you know, it's a collection of things that don't work that all come together and make it into something that is worse than the sum of its parts, but
Yes.
over time has made it better.
Right. Well, I,
And
I
but
stopped
like
listening to the podcast. Why did they make this? Because I
yeah.
didn't want my observations to be ripped off. So I stopped listening because one of them made a comment and I was like, damn it, I wrote that in my notes. And now it's going to sound like I ripped it off. But I wrote, what does she see in him? He's such a loser. She has more chemistry with Gene Kelly than she
Right.
has with Michael Beck or Sonny Malone. It's
Right.
just a fact. They have no chemistry. He is gross and, you know, has nothing going on.
Right. And you know, to continue what they were talking about in the podcast, like can't decide what kind of artist he wants to be, like is a cad, is like, you know, like
Yeah,
has no
all the
respect for
women in
anybody
Venice
else,
Beach
like
melt when he skates by. And I'm like,
right. And like
why? He's a
yeah, like
angry
when the
ape.
second time he sees Danny McGuire, he reduces him to hey clarinet. Like yes, I know all of that. And when I love something this much, I'm just like, yeah, well, otherwise there wouldn't be a movie.
Right.
So like, I'm just willing to forgive. And but I do think like you're right. She and Gene Kelly had much better chemistry, and those characters were much better suited. And actually, that was one of the things I talked about in the podcast. Is like whose muse was she really?
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of watching again with that in mind and looking and you know, she says, I came here to make Xanadu happen, and she says like, you know, there is a point where she's being Danny McGuire's muse again,
Right. She's
because
his
it's
muse.
they make it pretty obvious that she was his muse in the
Right.
40s,
Right.
right? And so I'm not, you know, like I think she gave she came to, and maybe that's when she's talking about when she's saying, you know, this it wasn't supposed to happen this way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just supposed to make Xanadu happen, and she ended up falling in love with Sonny. Maybe she was like really what she was there for was to help Danny open Xanadu and give Sonny some direction, and did end up falling in love with him. I don't know. I think he has pretty hot legs in those short shorts. So
Jonas,
maybe you want to just like freeze frame on that scene again. But so you know, I don't know.
I love when you recreate
But
dialogue from the movie and it's just as bad, if not, I mean, it's like better than Olivia Newton-John when you're like, I don't know, I wasn't supposed to fall in love, and it sounds better than my beloved ONJ.
well, and actually, I wrote down some lines because when I was just watching it before we got on to talk to each other, that I thought were actually kind of powerful, and they're delivered by Gene Kelly, so you know the best actor in the whole movie.
Yeah.
But you know, it's after Kira's left, and it's the day of the opening night, and Sonny is moping on the beach, and Danny comes over and he's like, you know, we're gonna miss you at the opening tonight, and he's like, you know, he says there's no Xanadu because there's no Kira. And Danny's like, but this was our dream, wasn't it? And he said, dreams die. You know, he's being such a brat, a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And Gene Kelly says, not by themselves. We kill them. And he's like, if you give up, you'll be sitting on that rock 30 years from now, just like I was. And it's up to you. And that is like, if there are no other like bits of dialogue or lines in this whole movie that make any kind of sense, like, who cares? Because those lines are actually what's really powerful. And then it's like, you know, it gets back to what they were talking about. Like, is Danny Sonny's muse? But you know, I digress. But those lines are really, I think, really powerful. And you know, so if I have to sit through 93 minutes of music video, which to songs that are actually pretty great, to be given the pep talk and the inspiration to, like, you know, don't kill your dreams. Only you can make them happen. Like, isn't that the job done?
I love it. Truly. I mean,
searching for meaning.
You
where
boiled it down.
Right.
Right. Well, one thing, obviously this movie had influence because Janet Jackson ripped off the gangsters in pinstripes in the final sequence for her video, All Right. Pete, will you put the pick up on the feed? I put them side by side. Truly ripped off Xanadu. The guys are dressed the same. The choreography is similar. So this movie, and I do believe Back to the Future might have stolen the dragging on the car. I just think it had influence, and it needed to happen, and Hollywood took from it for years to come.
Well, did Kenny Ortega choreograph that Janet Jackson video?
I would not think so, but he became the greatest movie choreographer of the past 30 years. So,
sure. So that's another reason why this movie had to happen.
I have one more question before we leave each other.
Sure.
What the hell kind of drink did she bring him? Is that half a glass of Kool-Aid straight up?
Well, I was more looking at the glassware. It's like it's like this tall.
It's a highball tall glass.
It's a double highball
with half full. No ice.
No ice.
No fruit. No straw.
No.
It was like the props department didn't show up that day, right? And they were like, "Oops."
Well, Mandy,
it's the last shot.
The drink wasn't what. Yeah, the drink wasn't what was really important.
It's always important to me.
It was them getting to talk.
Mm-mm.
And there's something that I just love about the very end as well, is like after the main credits roll, then it's as this like a dramatic drum roll, and then like in cursive across the screen goes "Made in Hollywood, USA," and I don't know something about it just makes me happy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well,
so like I've got in the background. Like I actually made this. Remember when you could make mouse pads at Kinko's?
Oh yeah,
I made this as a mouse pad. Like this was my mouse pad at work.
I love you. I adore you. I don't love this movie, but I adore how much you love it, and I'm so grateful that you agreed to come on the podcast and nerd out about Xanadu. Am I right?
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you for having me,
and thank you everybody for listening. Stay tuned next week for part 2 of Jonas performing dialogue from Xanadu.
What little there is.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Welcome to the official Deaf Crocodile podcast. I am Ryan Verrill, and every month I am joined by the owners of Deaf Crocodile themselves, Craig Rogers and Dennis Bartok, as we share the stories behind the restorations, the acquisitions, and the special features behind these restored home video releases curated by Deaf Crocodile. Not only will you find episodes where we break down the announcements, but we will also be sharing audio commentaries from the home video releases themselves so that you can listen on the go. Proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.